because most people aren't bigots. You know, you want to say that someone's a bigot when they're a bigot. And even then you want to argue against them, not necessarily silence them. But if the majority of people become labeled racist or bigots or transphobes or homophobes or whatever it is, you end up in a situation where a small-ish elite are basically defining who is acceptable as a new elite. And a new elite is emerging. There is a shake-up, and you can tell. And the corporates, in particular, have gone along with this. I mean, every corporation now is trying to is bringing in people and saying, oh, we're going to change, we promise, we're sorry, and all the rest of it. And you can see there's a big shake-up in certainly in UK society, and I think certainly in America it's even
certainly
more
in the US. So I mean, I can relate to this. I brought Jordan Peterson to the American Farm Bureau well before anybody really knew who he was, and bam, it was like a matter of hours before it happened, Slate's writing about how, you know, I'm a Nazi supporter, and we're helping, you know, the racist agenda of a crazy person. And you see what that does to your work environment. There are people that would secretly come and be like, hey, we're still friends, we're still cool. But they're going to meetings where people are calling for the CEO to publicly fire me. So it's this weird thing. And I think a lot of people don't realize that corporations, when you get this sort of surveillance mentality, when you get the sort of idea that, hey, if anybody's doing anything wrong, you come tell us and we'll take care of it, that actually works in the benefit of the corporation. They want no lawsuits. They want no problems. So if they can get their employees to report on each other, although it doesn't help for the long-term stability of that company, in the short term, it means that you get to go virtue signal. It means you get to know what's going on with all of your people, and you keep destabilized. You don't have to worry about, you can knock people out that are a threat to your...
Exactly. And it'll be used in a cynical way, and it's being used. I can see it now. So it's so ironic because it's so antagonistic to even the idea of a kind of radical movement, but you've got situations now where HR departments are mandating that staff do white fragility training, unconscious bias training.
Have you taken an unconscious bias training class?
No. Luckily, I'm my own boss, but I have read all about it. And this has now been brought in, by the way, to British schools, because the head teachers are so scared not to do anything that they're bringing in consultants. I mean, there's an industry of them. But anyway, you go off and you do this, but you're told by your HR department, everyone's doing them on Zoom now. They do these courses. If you say, I don't want to do it, which somebody did who works in the nuclear industry, some friend of mine, the nuclear industry are doing unconscious. I mean, I don't want to, what? Anyway, so they're doing this thing. This woman queried whether she wanted to do it. She said, I don't feel I need to do it. I don't need to prove I'm an anti-racist or I'm not a bigot, and I don't want to waste my time. Basically, she was told that this was going to be not only frowned upon, but it showed that she had unconscious biases because she wouldn't recognize that she needed to go on the training. She's quite senior, by the way. And you know, so it wasn't, but she's a bit of a stroppy person anyway, right?
Yeah, it takes a certain kind of person to be able to push back there.
Yeah, no, but what you've then got is you've got some people in the senior management team who probably want to get rid of her anyway, right? Because she's not a yes woman. So suddenly this becomes a matter. And then, as you say, I mean, I've got endless anecdotes of this, but exactly as you've described, you then get a situation where the bosses are the good guys because they're putting on this training. They appeal to their staff if anyone is not complying. And you have a snitch situation whereby people are complaining about their colleagues and encouraged to name and shame and complain. And then the management can sit around and think, well, that person's always been stroppy, haven't they? They've always caused us trouble and they're earning a lot of money, and maybe now we can get rid of them, right? So people don't seem to understand that this is the mood. And anyway, as it happens, what business is it of an employer what the private political views are of its staff? I mean, this is an outrage. I mean, there is such a thing as you as an individual are allowed to believe things. I mean, unless they're going to say that you can only have, you know, mandate your politics when they interview you. And that's not the same as discrediting an organization. I understand if somebody goes out and kind of creates havoc in the public sphere and embarrasses the organization. But we're not talking about that now. We're talking about people not getting in line. And it's really, get in your lane, stay in your lane, do as you're told. It's a fantastic mechanism for disciplining the workforce. But I also think it's just so, it's so spineless of the corporations, but not, and the institutions and the establishment figures here, who are so frightened that these young radicals who are kicking, they don't have to kick down the door, you know what I mean? They're kicking an open door, basically. And it's watching these kind of institutions crumble and thinking, well, what can we do? What can we do? And you think, say no.
Well, I mean, that's much harder. So having worked at a corporation where they had, the idea of, I am a supporter of X group, then you would get a little badge for your name tag. Maybe it's a flag, maybe it's a symbol, and you would wear those around and you'd put them on your door. And if you didn't have the right flags on your door, everybody knew you're not moving up. And like, so the question then becomes, like, for me, the answer was, I'm never going to thrive here. And so I wouldn't say that it was my primary reason for going off on my own, but I knew that it was never going to happen for me if I stayed there. But what does somebody do that's a physicist, that they can really only work in 4 or 5 places in the whole world because of their specialization? Now, if they resist, they may end up becoming a janitor. Is that equation worthwhile?
No, of course. For individuals, by the way, I don't condemn them. I understand people, I have my family on a warning. You sit there, you say nothing, you do not object. I don't want everyone to lose their jobs, right? I know this, right? So I'm not trying to create martyrs of people resisting. I mean, people can, and I will support them, but I'm not naive. What I'm talking about is, I think, what does it say about a society whose leadership enforces these things in bad faith? Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's so often in bad faith and through cowardice. And I find it, I mean, you remember, I come from a Marxist background, and I feel as though I've got more, I used to argue with lots of people in the corporate sector that they had to argue for example, economic growth, right, against a lot of the anti-growth rhetoric that was coming from environmentalists. I'm saying it. I'm having arguments with people who run oil companies who sound as though they're Greenpeace activists. And they're saying, oh, we can't say that, we can't say that, we can't say that, we've got to use this rhetoric and that rhetoric. And I say, well, have some bottle. I mean, you believe, as I do, that you need more wealth in society. You're going to have to do certain things to get that wealth. But they wouldn't do it. So the irony was that you have that they wouldn't even speak truth to their own power.
Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you're interested in the subjects that we're talking about, or the idea of how do you get better at communications, you may want to consider joining the Articulate Ventures Network. There, listeners like you can meet other listeners from all over the world. You can put up talks that you've given to ask for feedback and ways to improve, and you can even take courses that'll help you become a tangibly better communicator. That's the Articulate Ventures Network with the link below.